Now, before I get to the other definitions for this week, let's. So if I acknowledge the one from the convenience store, that means I'm admitting or accepting the existence of the truth of. I don't necessarily support Plan Bs. A lot of y'all do, but what I'm saying is I acknowledge that it exists. So same thing. I'm not acknowledging no Plan B. They have a backup plan. I'm acknowledging the Plan B at the convenience store because it exists. So don't get me think I'm trying to tell y'all, oh, go have a bunch of raw sex and just pop a Plan B like Skittles. Although I've heard that line before by some people proudly. All right, y'all. What's going on? It's your boy Easy Bake Oven. What's up, y'all? So today it's a little different. All right. Now, yeah, I used to hear ads run through my stuff for other people. All right. This is probably the first real time the ad is for me. All right. So P.S.A. Prodigy Sport Advantage Stations has expanded far beyond just the podcast. It is now a writing service. All right. And at that, a ghostwriting service. So we do it anonymously and take care of your needs. All right. Homework assistant, product and profile descriptions, grant writing, resumes, cover letters, templates, books, ghostwriter book too. Anything you can think of, articles, all that good stuff. PSA the Ghostwriter Solution can do it. So go over to PSAthepodcast.com and you can see all the services there with all their descriptions. Okay, because I know I missed some. And also you can reach out to me at theprodigyperspective@gmail.com and we can take care of all of that for you too. Peace. Yo. And just like that, track 6 is lit. And last week was a good one. Last week was a really good one. I said it every week though, really. But it was a good one. I'm always say that. I'm gonna try. I mean, if look, the thing is, if you don't hype yourself up, who else will? Although, the episodes air on Thursday. This is actually a late night recording. So we gotta be quiet for I don't care about no neighbors, I don't care about that. Like honestly, y'all, I be pacing these floors. I know I didn't flop and plop down. I ain't never like complain. I think literally one time they might have like did like this, doom, doom, doom. That was it. Only like once. So clearly it's cool. All right, y'all. So last week we talked about anti-fragility. Shout out to my homegirl, Courtney, that pulled up on us. But that centered around dormancy, the part of the plant where it's kind of like, so we kind of taking a little pit stop with the plant growth, right? So we kind of went up the first 4 episodes with the plant. Then we talked about dormancy, talking about how like if you need that setback in the plant being we're gonna do another one about replanting later. Am I telling too much early? I don't know. But we did talk about, the stressors and things that happen that we need in life, which we correlate that with the plant. And so before we get to the next stage of the growth part of the plant, we talking about another part. We talking about something that it's kind of like the plant adjacent because it has something to do with plant. But anyway, we talking about poison ivy. So you're like, how you gonna put this together? And what's gonna be the topic for the young millennial men out here? So let's get into that. So let's get into the meme first. Let's get into the meme. And I know it's gonna cause a little controversy, especially what's been going on with Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez, but here we go. The only plan B we acknowledge is the one from the convenience store. All right. Inspirations for this week come from, I've been reading Think and Grow Rich. I was been a part of a group of people, a community, and we've been reading Think and Grow Rich. And if it wasn't for the community, I wouldn't be reading it. I actually need to catch back up. And it was a quote from the book that I really liked, and it says, "Allow yourself no retreat." I'm gonna get in that in a minute, so just hold on tight. Although I'm gonna leave it alone, just the whole case and my opinions alone. But what I will say is Megan Thee Stallion always quoted, she's known for quoting and saying that there's no plan B. And she always talking about is either plan A and plan A. So I'm all for that. And then it was a video I watched, well, it actually just popped up on my feed from Tiphani Montgomery. and it was her planning session video from 2023, and her comment about selling books in the hood and how she was so determined to do so. Like she was like, and that's what the clip we used this week for the promo with her talking about the reason a lot of y'all stuff ain't going on is because y'all got too many plan Bs. Y'all got too many backups. You got too many. You're not putting your all into that one thing. She said she was determined to make $200 a day selling books in the hood. She had a whole, I ain't gonna give her a whole recipe. You got to go watch her videos for that. But she talked about that and talked about some, she couldn't go home. She said, this has to be it. And it's a nice transition because we now going, since I'm by myself, I don't have a guest today. We're going into story time. Now, this story time is called Testimony, and it's called Testimony because guess what? I'm about to tell one. I'm not even gonna read a story. So first and foremost, I didn't. Some people could argue I didn't got lazy because all these years I wrote these stories from scratch whenever I was by myself. Now, the first story of the season I wrote, the second one I found somewhere, and then the one. Well, it's the third time. So this one is not me writing the story. I could have wrote a story based on it, but I'm actually telling what happened to me. So for those that don't know, I've been able to I now have jobs that center around things that I love to do. And teaching was great, but it's time to transition. And what do I do? Well, we all know I have the writing service. I knew that. But I do some other things that require a lot of writing. And, you know, you'll have to see what they are in the future. But long story short, it was the process of me not having that plan B. And it was the process of me, because sometimes when you get those messages and those words of affirmation and those prophetic words, and typically when they happen or you hear them, you get all excited. The opposite happens. So if somebody told you you're gonna be getting a new car, you get the revelation or the idea is you're gonna get a new car. The car you got gonna just fold like some laundry out of nowhere. Now you ain't got no car. It's gonna be the exact opposite of whatever they said was supposed to happen. That's how it happened. But what I want people to understand is it really just depends on how you deal with that. How do you fight back when those things happen? That's the main thing. But I don't think people realize that. I don't. I think some people feel like, I think I really and truly believe that some people feel like, you know what, I'm gonna just do it like this and I'm gonna make it happen like that, right? That's just something to think about, right? So, long story short, with the whole job situation, so I went on a spree. You hear me? When I say I went on a spree, I mean a spree. I applied everywhere you can think of that centered around what I wanted to do. And I refused to go back to what I was known for, what I was normally doing. I had to just, I started just applying, just kept applying, just kept applying. And, you know, I got a lot of no's, got a lot of rejection. And that's part of that's part of it, right? So I just said, boom, boom, boom. I said, let me just, you know, and then of course you start to get discouraged because it's like, well, we getting closer, closer. Days is going, weeks is going, weeks is going. And then I remember I did a little, you know, a little fast. And I remember the before the week ended, I got an interview, or I got one job before literally the end of that work week. I got a message around like 11 something at night, and they were just like, "Hey, we think you'd be good for the second round." And then the next week, some more people started saying, "We think you'd be good for the second round." And then I got hired one place, and it's like it's good. It's a good job, but it's really more so like extra stuff. It's not, no, you can't live off that, but it's still needed and it still boosts my, you know, credentials for what I do. So that's the main thing. But I'm gonna just tell y'all from me personally, work what you know you good at. If you really want to do something, don't settle, don't create a backup plan, don't create a way of escape. Don't say, well, in case this is gonna work out, I'm gonna do this. Don't do that. Say, I'm gonna drill this in the head. And that's kind of what I was going off of with the Think and Grow Rich, because they said make no way for retreat, because it was talking about I think it was Napoleon Hill, one of the characters in the book, and he was talking about how he would do anything to be with and work with Thomas Edison. And it took 5 years, but he said he didn't make no way back. He didn't make no way of retreat. He didn't make it to where he had a crutch or something he could fall on. So keep that in mind. Like I said, now I'm doing something I love to do. And that's another thing. Shout out to Mandy B for this idea. I literally got some sticky notes, wrote down everything that I wanted, detailed, the pay, all that stuff, what I want to do, everything, stuff I can't reveal just yet. And I put it on there, and I just kind of like, whenever I would pray, I would like kind of, add it in there, or I would just look at it. Sometimes you got to write the vision, make it plain, but you also got, you constantly looking at that stuff, you're going to start to believe it. So any doubts you start to have, you remember what you wrote down, you put it up so where you can see it. So do that too, however you want to put it on a mirror. You want to put it in a journal and circle it, however you want to do it, figure it out what works for you. So that's the story time. Now the quick lessons from the story, real quick. Um, Long story short, you can't always create a way of escape or an Ishmael. And when you hear Ishmael, you instantly think of the Bible and Abraham and Isaac and Ishmael. When God told him he was gonna have a baby, even in his old age, it sounded absurd. It didn't sound like it was possible. But then he like, well, I don't believe that. He had doubt, so he created another one. So he went to go with the Haggai, the maid, and had a baby with her. And then God like, but I told you was gonna have a baby. You went out and made your own provision. So you still end up getting the one God promised you, but you tried to create your own because you didn't believe what was said to you. So remember, whenever it starts to look like it's not a way of escape. Now I'm not gonna lie, I did apply to one teaching job, but but I wasn't gonna take it no way. One and two, I did it at the after like I was supposed to do it one day. I didn't do it till like 2.5 weeks later. So I kept putting it off, putting it off. And even then I applied to over 80 jobs and only one of them was a teaching job. And there's a bunch of them because Houston, well, and all over, but they need teachers everywhere. So for me, I only applied to one in this bunch. So yeah. Also, be just so diligent and consistent. Just don't let nobody tell you nothing. Don't let nobody get in your ear. Be so consistent with what you're doing. You just can't lose. You just can't lose, and that's just the best way to be. I'm a firm believer in that. All right, y'all, late start, but let's go ahead and jump into this week's happy hour. Now, what are we talking about today? We're talking about the Ozempic pandemic. Okay, I'm disappointed in y'all because y'all are taking diabetes medicine to lose weight. Now, I had to educate myself because I did see something that said that it was to help with weight loss too, but it's not to help to just lose weight just because you feel fat. And if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. Go down in the comments and let me know. I was under the impression it was for like diabetics and things that was trying to lose weight. I didn't think it was just for old Tammy J. She said, "Oh, I'm getting big. I need to go get me some Ozempic and lose some weight." Now, with that, let me also tell you what was revealed to me. People's stomach getting paralyzed from doing Ozempic. It's not worth it. Just go to the gym. Either just accept being fat or go to the gym. Or it's just like, I'm not an advocate for surgeries, but if you're going to do it, go get something they done a million times. Go get your lipo or something. The BBLs, I guess I'm not an advocate for no surgery, but if you're going to do it. But the Ozempic, that's a problem. All I'm going to say is this. If you're a man, I better never find out about you getting Ozempic. And unless you are diabetic and you're doing it for that reason. But if you just getting it just because you're trying to lose weight, you better not let me find out. Make that your secret. Lie. I'm not even an advocate for lying, but you better lie. Get on Instagram and lie. Get on Twitter and lie. Get on YouTube, just lie. Just lie and be like, oh, I've been in the gym working hard. You know what I'm saying? They said I couldn't. God did. No, I ain't, don't lie on God, but I'm just saying, like, just lie. Just lie. I better not find out. If you did, you got the Ozempic. Yeah, you got the OPEC. The OPEC. Also, what else I want to talk about? I want to talk about I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it. Who we here? Last week we saw the case of the Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez finally ending. Now we talked about. I gave my take on. I think I want to say last season towards the end of the maybe the last episode. No, maybe not the last one, but second to last, something like that. And you know, okay, I'm gonna say this. I said it. Oh, I'm gonna repeat what I said on Instagram. I blame the Kardashians. You're gonna say, well, Kylie's a Jenner. I blame the Kardashians. Whenever they're around, it's always something wicked going on. I don't know what it is. I ain't gonna get into what the conspiracy theorists say, but every time they're around, it's always something wicked going on. And it's also a message to people to stop playing with guns. Whether or not he was trying to defuse, like I said, it's been 20 million stories. That's why I don't know who to believe. But and I'm not siding on no side. I'm just not, because I'm just not. But again, what I took from it was, and hopefully y'all do, stop playing with guns, because I know too many people personally who would just take out a gun and just be like, and it's like, stop doing that, because this kind of stuff happens. Because if it do go off, you had impaired judgment, like we had technical difficulties at the beginning. I didn't realize it, but you had impaired judgment. Something happened. You know what I'm saying? Just don't even take it out. Take it out when your life is in danger. Just do it if that. Just take it out when your life is in danger. That's it. That is literally all. Take it out when your life is in danger. All right, y'all. So now let's move into the next segment, which we only done it twice this season because the first time I forgot. Questions that need addressing. All right, so the first question that needs addressing: why are people always trying to give you a plan B? I know a lot of people that live off plan Bs. Okay, wait. That sound bad. I'm not talking about. There's people that live off them too. I've heard people say they take them like Skittles. Can't judge. But let me explain. I think people always will say, for example, if you like, I'm gonna go to school and be a lawyer, and if being a lawyer doesn't work out, I'm gonna be a teacher, right? So, all right, lawyer didn't work out, I'm gonna go be a teacher. Here's the thing with that. My logic is, when the going start getting tough, what's gonna be, to me, that makes it seem like you're gonna give an excuse when it's time to work. I could be wrong, but to me, I feel like you're gonna give an excuse when it's time to work. I feel like if that's the case, you're gonna say, "Well, start get too hard. I can't deal with no more. F it. Let me just go be a teacher." And again, there's nothing wrong if that's what you want to do. But what I'm saying is, if you drastically and desperately want to be a lawyer, why go create a backup? Now you're playing yourself. And you're gonna make excuses. I look at DJ Khaled. He knew he always wanted to be a producer. I remember he talked about him when he was used to work at Champs, the Foot Locker, one of them. And he talked about how he was selling his stuff, and it out when he was giving shoes, where he was giving people his mixtape. He knew he was gonna be where he is. Look at him now. So keep that in mind. Second question I'm gonna ask myself today, or ask the people, but I'm actually asking myself: if I were a plant, what would it be and why? Now, I don't have a guest this episode, and what I love about this whole, because I'm gonna tell y'all now, this is one of the last, if not the last, episode to be recorded for Breaking the Fourth Wall for the series. What I love about this question is, I have never answered it because I've always asked my guests. So for me, if I were a plant, I would be a cactus. Not just because they look cool and they got spikes, but also because even in the harshest weather, they still gonna thrive. They still gonna have their water. They still gonna be good. They still gonna be good in the hood on the inside. And I feel like no matter what condition I'm in, no matter what environment I'm in, whether it's a harsh one, of course, the cactus in the desert, but a harsh one, a good one, whatever, I'm gonna still stay good. I'm gonna still be filled up with my peace, with my, you know, good thoughts, with everything that I need to be filled up with good. I'm gonna be prepared. I'm gonna have my supply. So I'll be a cactus. And then, like I said, they look cool. The third question, metaphorically, what does poison ivy have to do with plan B? Watch this. In the life cycle of poison ivy, it initially appears harmless and like any other plant, right? It only reveals its harmful effects when it comes into contact with or has been disrupted. Similarly in life, we often set our plan A goals, which may seem enticing and achievable from a distance, but can reveal unforeseen challenges once we get into the nitty gritty. Moreover, just like poison ivy, the problems we face when we chasing our plan A aren't always visible up front. They may come up unexpectedly as we get close to our goals. For instance, we might realize that the path to a plan A is more complicated than we initially thought and filled with obstacles and hardships. So, like I said earlier, you said you want to be a lawyer. You say, well, in case that don't work, I want to be a teacher. You're already training your mind to the fact of this may not work. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like if somebody wants to be a basketball player and they don't even have a plan B. It wasn't until they got hurt and then they said you can never play again. Now you got to come up with a plan B versus they say I'm gonna do this basketball. If this don't work, I'm gonna go be a chef. I'm just thinking about random stuff, but you get what I'm saying. Like they didn't even try to say, well, this don't work. I'm gonna do this. Don't even go in saying it's not gonna work. Go in saying it's gonna work. Make it work. That's where you have to put your elbow grease and stuff and make it work. Now, we may want to quit because it gets too hard, but let's go back to what Napoleon Hill said earlier. So if we go back to that, what we said earlier, he said he removed our bolts. He said he was going to do whatever it took to get in the room with us. And he didn't know how. He just said, I'm just going to make it work. And he made a goal in mind. He said he knew how much. They even talked about in that book about talking about how much money you want to have and give a specific amount. Like they're that specific. Now I haven't finished it, so I got to come back to it. And the goal is to have it discuss this again later in the season. But it's that specific. So it forces you to truly be like, I gotta stop playing. Now, on the other hand, the poison ivy metaphor could represent these challenges and sacrifice hard work required to achieve your plan A. So just like avoiding poison ivy, it would be the easiest and then the safest route. It may seem tempting to just switch to the plan B when the going gets too a little too tough. But just as poison ivy has antidotes and treatments, the struggles of choosing your plan A have their solutions too. See, it's all about resilience, perseverance, and adaptability. So we talked about that last week. Shout out to my girl Courtney. She said she loved the word adaptability. That's one thing about me. I easily adapt. I've been around, especially with people, places, things. Like if something didn't work, I'm like, okay, well, let's try it another way. You know what I mean? I don't just give up. It takes hard for me to give, especially when I want to do something. I put it's so hard into my skull. Like you're gonna do this. You're gonna get the job that you love. You're gonna get a job that you're comfortable with. You're gonna get a job that or jobs that make you feel good. That's easy for you to do. You know, like Tiffany been saying lately, everything it comes with ease. And not saying teaching didn't come with ease, but it just wasn't my passion. You know, I love the kids, but the teacher profession itself was just like I never wanted to be a teacher. Now I'm glad I did it for all those years, and it taught me many, many lessons that's gonna last a lifetime. And I'm like I told them kids, I'm gonna pack y'all for the rest of y'all life. But you know, and then with the school, it was all like low key sign after sign after sign because, like I said, how the school shut down. And although I could have just went to another school, it's like I'm giving you a way out. Take it. Fourth question: why is Plan B the meme? So the meme, obviously, as I read earlier, the only Plan B we acknowledge is the one from the convenience store. So with me saying I acknowledge it, that goes into my definitions because I got some definitions. So let's transition to the definitions and then I'm gonna give the answer. So the first definition is acknowledge. The definition of acknowledge is the accept or admit the existence or truth of. Now, before I get to the other definitions for this week, let's so if I acknowledge the one from the convenience store, that means I'm admitting or accepting the existence of the truth of. I don't necessarily support plan B's. A lot of y'all do. But what I'm saying is I acknowledge that it exists. So same thing. I'm not acknowledging no plan B. They have a backup plan. I'm acknowledging the plan B at the convenience store because it exists. So don't get me think I'm trying to tell y'all, oh, go have a bunch of raw sex and just pop a plan B like Skittles. Although I've heard that line before by some people proudly. All right, so what's the rest of the definitions for the week? So I defined plan B. I gave two definitions. The meaning of a plan B is alternative plan or action for use if the original plan should fail. And this is a product. And then the second one is this is a product small flexible device that is placed in the womb uterus to prevent pregnancy. And then I define doubt, a feeling of uncertainty or lack of conviction. All right, good stuff, good stuff. All right, y'all. So let's move into the next segment, which is what does this have to do with mental health? All right, so what does this have to do with mental health? There's a lot of things. It's a lot of things that Plan Bs and Plan As do for people. So the first one is anxiety and stress. An article from Psychology Today titled Plan B, What Do You Do When Needing a Backup Plan? It says, explains how having a plan B can serve as an emotional cushion if plan A doesn't materialize. It acts as a contingency, reducing anxiety and stress associated with the potential failure of plan A. However, the same article cautions that mere existence of a plan B could also trigger stress. And also could be seen as an anticipation of failure, which I said earlier, that's the proper way to say it, is anticipation of failure. So now, as I mentioned earlier, I had a audition applied for a school. I've done all these positions and jobs in other cities, remote, of things that I really wanted to do, but I was like, the going got tough, and I kind of resorted back. I said, let me just in case, which I shouldn't have did, but I like to put myself on blast. But like I said, even if we looked at the percent, if I applied to 90 some schools and on 90 some places, and only one of them was a school, literally, it was like 90 some places. Only one of them was a school. So it's like, I mean, and it was more so, but then I have to call myself to the carpet because it's like you tried to create a backup plan. And I did. And I let doubt creep in. When plan A is successful, it boosts self esteem and self confidence. On the flip side, the failure to achieve plan A can lower self esteem. Having plan B might alleviate this if it's seen as being prepared and realistic, but it might be a source of self doubt and undermine confidence in achieving plan A. So now, you did let people tell you what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put yourself in that position, because this is the thing. Comments from peers like, well, yeah, just do this, or I don't think you should do that. I think you should just be okay with this, or I think you succeeded enough, or you can't do that. Now, like I said in the first episode of this season, and I've said it before, sometimes people be telling you the truth and like, that ain't for you. But sometimes they can't see it because they wasn't given the vision. So keep that in mind. The third one is decision fatigue. Harvard Business Review published an article titled Making Choices Impairs Subsequent Self Control, a limited resource account of decision making, self regulation, and active initiative. It says the article suggests that constantly worrying about considering two plans can lead to decision fatigue, a state where making further decisions becomes overwhelming. So, my question to y'all is, have you ever got so overwhelmed with a decision you decided to take a nap? Yes, and guess what? I did that for the last few days. So I recorded so late. I was supposed to record this episode like maybe 6 days ago, and I kept putting it off. But we're here, baby. We're here. So it is what it is. But yeah, I really wasn't overwhelmed. I kind of was. I remember like yesterday I was supposed to record it, and then ended up getting on the phone with two different people for 2 hours. So they took all my talk. The fourth one is a sense of purpose. A Medium post, The Danger of Having a Backup Plan, discusses how Plan A aligns more with an individual's passion and Plan B is seen as settling for less. It can lead to dissatisfaction and a feeling of lost purpose. This sense of being misaligned with one's passion can significantly impact one's mental health. Those people can be seen as signs of the warnings that you find in forest parks, advising you to watch out for poison ivy. Their well meaning advice is not to discourage you, but rather prepare you for the potential risk and consequences that may come with their plan A. Now, oftentimes I've learned to have a plan B comes from a place of concern and love from other people. So sometimes it ain't hating, they really just trying to help you, right? But just like this, let's look at it like this. Let's look at it like this. Just like the signs warn you about poison ivy, so can you protect yourself. These people that suggest for you to have a plan B, second in case plan A does not work out as expected. So the thing is, plan Bs in most cases aren't inherently as bad, but allowing it to divert your attention and resources from plan A might hamper your progress. It's about balance, being prepared for potential failure, but not letting the fear of it stop you from chasing your main goals. And that is a drop mic moment. Now, are there times you should have a plan B? Yes, and we about to discuss that. I always got to go to the next spot, which is I challenge that. Okay, so now watch this. What a plan B. Are there the times that you have plan B? Always with my research. The first one is a career. Sometimes careers don't work out as planned. Maybe the industry changes, job disappear, or interest shift. Now, if a job disappeared that you was going for, which I seen a video about that, that was like that was God way trying to protect you. According to a survey by Gallup as of 2016, 21% of millennials had changed jobs within the past year. All right. So it says this implies a certain level of career uncertainty and highlights the importance of having a backup plan. It might involve getting additional training, considering a different industry, or having a savings aside for a potential period of joblessness. Now I agree with this, especially because our generation was taught to get a good job with benefits. And one thing I really like about Gen Z is I like how they are very like one, they the complete digital age, but two, they follow their passions. Like they don't like working regular jobs. They they're very into their passion. Like you can't take that from them. They gonna speak up. They're very vocal, whether it's a good bad vocal or bad vocal. They're very vocal, and they're very into like no, this how it's gonna be, and they refuse to fall in line with societal norms. So I got to give them a round of applause for that. The second one is health. Accidents and illnesses can happen unexpectedly. Statistics from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows that 2018, 15.4% of adults aged 18 to 44 reported having a disability. Having a plan B might be having a health insurance, setting aside savings for potential medical costs, or having a support network in place. That's easy. Well, you know what I'm saying. It makes more sense. Relationships. So it says that as per the American Psychological Association, about 40 to 50% of married couples in the United States divorce. While no one enters the relationship expecting it to end, it is wise to have a plan in case it does. This might include understanding your legal rights, having separate savings, or prenuptial agreement. Now, I'm indifferent when it comes to marriage, and this is why. So, logically, because we all know I'm a man of logic, I'm more of a man of faith, though, because sometimes you have to let faith suspend logic. But if you really sitting and grinding and sitting with, God and allowing the things to come, I'm a little different with marriage and having preparing for an exit. Because I remember growing up and I had friends that made a comment, and he was just like, he made a comment like, yeah, when I turn 80, and now he was like, I'm gonna get married, and then he just said it casually, not knowing he could have spoke maybe even a word curse of himself. Um, he could have spoke a word curse of, so he was just like, and then I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna get a divorce. Even as a kid, I always had common sense, and I was like, what sense that made? I'm like, that where did it make sense at? Maybe it's me. The next one is finances. It says many millennials have been hit hard by economic downturns. A study from the Pew Research Center in 2020 showed that about half of the oldest millennials were wealthier at age 38 than their parents had been at that age, a significant decline from previous generations. A financial plan B might involve having an emergency fund, diverse investments, or alternative income sources. So I remember sitting with my mom and my mama's friends and my auntie slash cousin, we were all talking about credit cards, and she was talking about we glad that we telling y'all early to get them credit cards in check. Now don't be our age still trying to pay credit cards, and there's so many people who are late 40 plus who struggling with their credit card debt, and they sometimes die with it. So it's good that I'm learning to shut stuff down now, and that way I can be done with it. Because I think so we're gonna have to get somebody about that on here before the season ends. So then it's talking about the last one is climate change. It's an increasingly urgent issue for millennials, according to a 2019 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The climate crisis will cost millennial generation nearly 8.8 trillion in lifetime income. A plan B here might be considering how climate change could affect one's living situation, career, or health, and for them to plan accordingly. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Um, I want people to understand this. The climate is interesting, especially right now. because it's almost like we don't know what's gonna happen next. You know, you might see a tornado, and you can get tornadoes in California, I believe, right? I think so. You can get a tornado. You might see a hurricane in St. Louis, the way things are going. You just never know with the climate. And it's definitely something to think about because I feel like the earth is doing, like, what's the word? You know, you hate to sound like the old folks, but the earth is doing like birth pains almost. And I'm interested to see, I'm not interested, but like, you know, they already been talking about, they've been prophesying blackouts and all that stuff and being prepared. And although they've been saying that stuff for decades, it's we seeing it now. So they talk about climate, but I think it's really just all areas, especially when it comes to food and things. Especially with the clone meat, you need to find a backup for that. That's why we've been doing that thing with Tiphani Montgomery the first 3 days of the month. We preparing for that, you know, mentally, emotionally, and even physically, because of with doing raw for the first 3 days. But it's people gonna need to shift, and there you don't want to be eating no clone meat. Although in low key they probably been doing it, now they saying it publicly, meaning like they got the go to do it, but they've been doing it. Maybe not everywhere, but it's been done. Now, lately I've been keeping up with people who were in like the industry and how like they was on top and then they just kind of fell off. And that's William from Girlfriends. Remember that show? And Countess Vaughn and all these people who, you know, they were on and popping and they didn't have a backup plan. So when things happened and they were forced and their career ended, you know, the show ended, they didn't get booked no more. They didn't have a backup plan. Now, granted, that was an older time. You might say, what's different now? But not really. Because if you compare it to today, so many people go viral, right? Shout out to T, because I remember in the first episode of the season, of the series, she had made a comment like, if I was to go viral tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to sustain it. And so my thing is, if I went viral, because it's you want more than just the clout. Some people die for clout, but you want to be able to say, if I go viral tomorrow, I have the writing service, I have other things that I'm doing, some that's gonna come that y'all gonna see in a few weeks, but you didn't see coming. Some might have, but maybe not. Anyway, the point that I'm making is, if I was to go viral tomorrow, we got the podcast. They're gonna binge that. So many people gonna binge that. We got the writing service. Some people gonna need those resources, and other things that I got going. So I'm gonna be able to bring in revenue from them views and just people reposting my stuff. Great example. Don't call me white girl, Demona. So now I had never heard of her. I ain't gonna lie. Not saying she was a nobody, but I'm just saying I had never heard of her before. The like the right hand on neck, left hand on frontal thing, and mile with the mustache. I never heard of her, but at the same time, it was many other people who was like me. They never heard of her that start tuning into her stuff after that. So when she went viral, she already had stuff in place. So where it wasn't like, oh, I didn't went viral, or oh, I didn't got my big break. Let me have my stuff, and not necessarily a backup plan, but having other things in place. So in case when this thing, because sometimes it's not having a backup plan. Sometimes it's just being realistic of knowing this not gonna last forever. So what am I gonna do when this runs dry? You know what I'm saying? So it's a difference. So what do you do when this thing is for season, and some seasons may last decades, but when this runs dry, then what? And having other things in place, so you'll always have something. Does that make sense? Am I making sense right now? I think I am, and I may have to go back on this later. Let's see. Let's see what happens. All right, y'all. So now let's move into the next segment, one of my favorites, which is the weekly sabbatical. Now, as I was saying, we kind of started talking about people not having plan Bs, but let's go into more of another angle. Add a fact. Yeah, let's keep it going. Let's keep doing this. So earlier, I already mentioned Abraham and Ishmael, so we ain't got to go back over that. I also think about in Daniel 3 and 1 through 30, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So this is when the three Hebrew men they refused to bow down to the king, Nebuchadnezzar's golden calf, the idol, and even when threatened with death in the fiery furnace. So they refused to do it. It's kind of like some of us that refuse to take the jab. Can't say the word on YouTube, but uh, you know what I'm talking about. And people gonna sound ignorant. I don't care because they was like, you ain't get it, and people kept wishing death on me. You gonna drop dead. You putting people in danger. I'm putting people in danger, but really, I think the virus or whatever it was scared of me because every time I was around people that got it, nothing happened to me. Y'all was the one sick as a dog. I never had it, and I was good. So then people say, "Well, you just got good immune system." Well, maybe you should do what I'm doing, because maybe then. But see, people so programmed to listen to CNN that they can't. You go against that, you crazy. But the system and not the man. Now, since we talking about the man, it goes transitions well into the next part, which is when I think about Plan B's, I think about Undercover Brother, one of my favorite movies. And you think, well, what does this have to do with that? So let's get into it. Remember in Undercover Brother when Eddie Griffin character, Undercover Brother, he was given a gadget that had hot sauce in it. It was like a watch, and it had hot sauce in it. So whenever that the white people gave him the food or the food of the man, and it was the white people food, he could put the hot sauce on it. That was a plan B for so that when he ate, you know what I'm saying, he could eat it and it would be seasoned because it basically was implying that the food of the, you know, others wasn't seasoned. And also, I think of another plan B was when Undercover Brother was succeeding in his missions. And Chris Kattan's character, I can't remember his name. Chris Kattan was a one of the ghosts of SNL back in the day. He said activate. He said basically saying that he was succeeding. He was like, well, let's activate Plan B. I don't know if he called it Plan B, but he was just like, let's activate Black Man's Kryptonite. And Black Man's Kryptonite was Denise Richards, who was White She Devil, and she was the character to thwart Undercover Brother when he was playing Anton Jackson when he was sent to an infiltrating area and they caught on to him infiltrating, so they tried to send him a distraction. Whose message is that? When you are being sent out into your called industry and you infiltrating the industry, be prepared for a distraction. Somebody gonna try to send some distraction to throw you off. And in the movie, it threw him off for a while. Of course, he ended up getting back on track. But you remember when the scene in the movie where they was eating the mayonnaise sandwiches, and it was just like, and they played the remix to the thong song, and I forgot who that's Tom Bolton's version or something. And Denise Richards was like, "Yeah, he got all the funk Cisco missed," and she was about to feed him that sandwich, and it was loaded with mayonnaise. Where can I watch that movie? I want to watch it now. But you get what I'm saying. So sometimes a person can be a plan B. Ooh. Sometimes a person can be a plan B. And whether it's somebody sent out to throw you off track or sometimes but then it's like, well, what if you dating somebody and it ain't work? So like, well, if she don't work, I'm gonna go to this, or he don't work, I'm gonna go to that. That ain't right. You can't do people like that. If you do that, keep that to yourself for real. You're gonna get beat up. All right, so now sticking to plan A and making it work requires discipline, right? Resilience and careful planning and a willingness to adapt and learn from mistakes. So last week we talked about adaptability. We bring it back now. So here are a few strategies for my young millennial men to stay focused on their primary plans with insights from various blogs, journals, and statistics. As always, BT, I got you. So the first one is clear goal setting. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology suggests that specific and challenging goals can lead to higher performance than easier general goals. Make sure the goals are clear, measurable, and realistic. All right, like I said earlier, write them on the walls, put them on the journals, put them in a mirror, put them somewhere you can see them, the cream of yourself daily, or even if you just look at them, that's enough to where you come into agreement with believing it. Because you keep seeing something, you're going to believe it. Self education. A report from the Pew Research Center showed that millennials are the most educated generation in history. Use this as your advantage by constantly learning and upgrading your skills, which can make you more competent and confident executing your plan A. Now, shout out to my boy Mike. We talked about that. YouTube University. YouTube is a great place to learn. Now, I don't believe that I feel like a lot of stuff you can learn from YouTube. I'm gonna just leave it at that. A lot of stuff. They have everything in every genre. Some good stuff, some bad. But also e-courses. So whatever you're trying to do, podcasting, they have a bunch of those. Even myself, I need to get in the rooms with these people. Anything you want to be, they have a conference for it. And that's my challenge to myself. But see, now God gave me a lot of freedom. So now I can go to these events and those things without having to necessarily take off days. So that's something I'm excited to do. Third one is resilience and grit. According to a study in the journal Personality and Social Psychology, grit or perseverance and passion for long term goals is a significant predicator of success. Blogs like Millennial magazine also frequently highlight the importance of resilience. When obstacles arise in your plan A, resilience and grit can help you stick to it rather than reverting to plan B. So I'm all for that. And then this fourth one, especially I'm for, which is networking. Relationship building is key to any planned success. According to LinkedIn survey, 85% of all jobs are filled with through networking. Building strong networking can open doors and provide support in achieving your plan A. So with that, now first of all, I said according to LinkedIn. Okay, so I have a LinkedIn, but I need to redo it. So I don't be putting it like a lot of jobs was asking, what's your LinkedIn? And I ain't put it because I really don't have one. Well, I have one, but I don't. And I seen somebody that was like, you got every social media but a LinkedIn. I think my struggles is, should I have two of them? And when it comes to LinkedIn, my question for people like me, should I have two? Should I have one that's just, Isaiah Williams, the ABCDFG? And should I have one that's Izzy Baker, podcast producer, personality? Like, should I have two of them? That's my confusion. And hopefully somebody in the comments answer, should I have two of them? Because I think it's like I have one that's kind of and it's barely even one. Because I don't even remember it. I think I made it, but I don't know where it's at. And it's like, so I think I should do two. Should I do two? That's something to keep in mind. But also, yeah, like I said, find groups. There are people online just like you. Even with this podcast stuff, I shout out to. I'm not sponsored by them, but I know Pod Match is good for me. It's like the Tinder for podcasts, and you can find guests and find places to pitch yourself to be guests on people's podcasts with similar interests. So I look at it like, there are groups for everything you're trying to do. So keep that in mind with stuff like this, especially the way the world is going. And COVID made that easy, making stuff digital. So keep that in mind. The fifth one is financial planning. A study by the National Endowment for Financial Education found that only 24% of millennials demonstrate basic financial literacy. Adequate financial planning is essential to sticking to any plan. This could involve budgeting, saving, investing, or consulting with a financial advisor. The next one is work life balance. A report from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation found that the work life balance is crucial for millennials. To stay focused and motivated on your plan A, it is important to maintain a healthy balance between professional commitments and personal time. So if you work at 8 to 5, this is for me now. If you work at 8 to 5, you either need to stay up late or you need to wake up early. Stop letting the man get all your money and your time and your energy. You're gonna look up and be 40 saying, I wish I would have did. Ain't no wishing over here. Everything I want to do, I'm doing it. Nah, I'm not doing that. Or if you king finesse like me, work at work. When I was a teacher, educator, and I had my writing service and I had my podcast stuff, I was finding time to do that at work. Because my logic is we live in an age where how I was taught to teach anyway, they don't like you teaching and talking to the kids the whole period. No way. So when I done teaching with y'all, and then of course you have downtimes at work anyway, naturally too. But when I'm teaching to y'all, I sit down, may anybody need some help, may periodically scan the room, talk to somebody, may have to sit with one group, but I'm have some open and I'm working on it, or I'm sending an email to a guest, or I'm putting this, crafting my script. I'm gonna find some time to get some stuff done because I refuse to come home and work all night. That's just me. The last one, the last one, it's the last one, but it is the truth though. The last one is the regular self-assessment. So regularly reviewing and assessing your progress can help you stay on track with your plan A. Journals such as the Journal of Personality Assessment underline the importance of self-assessment in personal and professional development. Now, with that, you have to keep yourself at bay. You have to know what you can do and what you can't do. You have to keep in line with what you need to get better with, what you struggle with. Even with me, I look at these old episodes like game film, and I'm like, we need to fix that. We need to add this. We need to do this because we have to stay consistent and stay current. And you also have to keep adding to the plan. to the brand. And that's not creating a plan B. That's just adding to your stuff. Like I said, the writing service is under P.S.A.'s name. What we doing with the podcast moving forward, you're gonna have to see. But it ain't going nowhere. At least not no time soon. I don't believe, But it's just really getting started for real because this is the second season. Excuse me, this is the seventh season, but this is the second season that's been consistent on YouTube, and we starting to see the results from it. The first, because really, season six was the soft rebrand, went from PSA podcast to PSA the Mental Health Podcast, season six, with the updated logo and the addition to the name. Plus, we narrowed down the niche. And other season, I thought we had it, but we didn't, and that's okay because I got it now. But I'm just excited because now we getting those numbers, we getting the people, and we starting to make waves. So that's where we at with it, and it's only up from here. Now, let's end off with the question or challenge for the week. So, reflecting on your own life goals, life and career goals, can you identify a time when you were faced with the dilemma of sticking to your plan A or shifting to plan B? Tell me that, and then tell me what is the first step in your action plan to working with your plan A or getting back on track with your plan A or what you did with your plan A. So that way I can know kind of what you did and all that good stuff. Now, I'm gonna let y'all know a little secret. This episode was actually it was matter of fact, I ain't even tell y'all, don't worry about it. But next week, so we went from poison, we went from dormancy, then we went to poison ivy. And guess what? Next week we transition into the next phase because we're going from poison ivy. So say for instance the plant was full of poison and the root of it was poisoned up. What you gonna have to do? It's a faulty foundation. So that means you gotta uproot it. All right. So next week's episode transitions to the next stage of the plant, which is uprooting. Now I have a great guest, y'all. That episode was fire, and it's a lot of insight. And when we talk about uprooting with the plant, we also talk about something else that we miss out on, or we say as a generation we're doing breaking and generational curses. So we're going to talk about that, and along with faulty foundations, and quite a few other things that I think will be good. And the guest of that week, that next week is really great. She's a therapist, and she's like that therapist I posted with that Monique POV a few weeks ago, and we might add the clip in here. I think we're gonna add that clip in here. But yeah, good stuff. All right, so that's all I got this week, y'all. I miss doing solo episodes, but we can't always do that, but they definitely are fun. So as always, PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are and make your mind up. Don't let it make you.